channel Made Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we have as always, extremely exciting episode of Page Chewing. I'm with my wonderful co-host, again, PL Stuart, as always. And today I'm particularly excited because we have Lit Vibes with 5 with us, who I am a huge fan of your channel. I'm proud to say I discovered you the month that you put your first video out, and I have watched everyone since. And I would just kind of like people to get to know you a little bit in the beginning. So if you could give a little self-introduction, tell people who you are and what you do in the book space.
I am a 27-year-old regular human being. I work and I come home, and that's really about it. I like to do book reviews. I love going to bookstores. I recently went to the library, and that was a very exciting um, interaction. But I just love making people happy, in the book space. I love reading. I love literature in general. So I just figured I'll bring it to YouTube, and shoot, it took off for me unexpectedly, but I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be joining y'all today. So I'm excited to, get to talking and, get some information out there.
Well, if your goal is to make people happy, you do that fantastically on your channel. I always walk away from your videos, with a smile on my face. When I was advertising this, I said there's a wonderfully candid booktuber, because I think that's a beautiful way to describe what you do. Yeah. And what you said is actually a perfect segue into my first question for you, which is that this shit has taken off for you.
Yes.
And we love to see it, right? So you started about 6 months ago, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your channel has just shot off, sponsors, everything. And it's a wonderful thing to see. But I'm sure that it's quick, it's jarring, it's a lot. Because correct me if I'm wrong, in your first video, you did say you were just getting back into reading.
Yes,
and
literally.
then everything kind of hits you, right? So
I literally was just getting back into reading.
Right? So I was wondering if you could just give us a little bit of how this has been for you. Are there any highlights? Like, what's the journey been like these past 6 months?
It has been amazing, to say the least. It is a little nerve-wracking at times, and it does get a little overwhelming. Like you said, when I started my first video, I was literally just getting back into reading. And actually, my brother, who got me doing booktube, is in the comments. So what's up, bro? He
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, he actually got me to start doing my first video. I was getting into reading, and I wanted to do something different. I was working from home at the time, and I kind of wanted to just do something with my time. And he was like, "Bro, like, you love reading and you want to do something on YouTube, so just go ahead and do what you love to do, but just put it on camera." I was like, "You know what? You right. So let me go ahead and try this out and see see how it goes." So I made that first video, and I was super nervous. Like, I was more nervous than I thought I would be. And it was nice. It was nice to record that first video. It was nice to record it, put it out there, and prove to myself that I could, that I could do it. And I kept that going. I did like 2 more videos, and it was like 2 to 3 weeks after I posted my first video, because I was trying to put one out every week. And I was in Atlanta. I remember it vividly. I was in Atlanta with my girlfriend, and I randomly got a notification on my phone, and it was like, "Congratulations, you got 5,000 views." I was like, "Hold on, where did that come from?" And I looked, and I went, and I was like, "Oh my god, I really do have." I thought it was like a fake notification or something, and it just kept going up, and it kept going up, and I was like, "Yo, this is unreal." And then I posted another video, and that video went crazy, and it got like 80,000 views, and I was like, "Bro, there's no way this is happening right now." And yeah, since then it just kind of like took off, and people just gravitated towards me so quick, and I loved it. Like, I loved it because I love reading, and I love talking about reading, and I just love books in general. So being able to build a family and a community of people who love to do the same, I was ecstatic. You know what I mean? and but it has been a little nerve wracking as well, and like a little overwhelming, just because it happened so fast, and it was new. It was like something very new. Like I've never really been on YouTube before, like put myself out there like that. So being able to see everybody else's opinion of me, everybody else's opinion, and everybody on what I should be doing or what they want to do and what they read and stuff like that. It was a lot. And then all the sponsors and everybody like in your email, and trying to get you, and you gotta, have a little discernment on what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So um again, shout out to my brother, because he's been really like by my side, helping me do everything and helping me figure out what I need to do, and the process of everything. But overall, it's been amazing. Like the people in my comments, the subscribers, views, just talking to people and making the videos. Like I have fun making the videos, so it's a super dope experience, to be honest.
I'm so glad to hear that it's overall positive because, like I said, I'm sure that there's days where you feel on top of the world and other days where you're kind of like, whoa, this is a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, the internet, like people say what they're gonna say. They
Oh,
really, they really,
100%.
they really do. So,
a hundred
and it's a
percent.
lot to be thrown into, especially if you're not as familiar with what you like as a reader or the book community at large,
Exactly.
right? This is a very different space, and every portion of the book community is different. So you've got book talk, you've got booktube, you've
Hmm.
got like a lot of different avenues. So I guess a follow-up question to that, is there anything about the booktube space, and I believe you're also on book talk, that has
Hmm.
surprised you since you've been here? Like, oh, I didn't expect that,
Um,
you took off.
I wouldn't necessarily say anything like surprise. No, I would say one thing that surprised me is like when you really get like deep into YouTube, like into BookTube, and pay attention to like all of the politics and stuff like that. Like people really get a little cutthroat when they're talking about like authors and what they do, and all of that stuff. So I was like, whoa, it's a little too deep for me right now, but I'll get into it sooner or later. But yeah, that definitely surprised me, because you have to really. So I've learned from one of my videos, you have to really be very diligent about um, doing your research, before you just kind of, I guess, like co-sign an author, or like put an author out there and put them on Front Street. So that was a little like jarring, a little confusing, to say the least. But
Yeah,
that's really about it. And I mean,
completely understandable.
yeah, and like book talk is very, very different from booktube, like very, very
Mm,
different. Uh, I I kind of took a different approach to book talk, because I went on, like, people do a lot of reviews and like sit downs and stuff like that on book talk, but I just try to be more funny, because that's just who I am. So like I'm a funny person, so I try to do a lot of like skits that involve books, or anything that might relate to books that people feel like, oh man, I do the same thing. Yeah, that's trying how I try and take that approach on book talk. But I like book talk, honestly. It's very interesting to say.
yeah. Well, as someone who's kind of stayed in my booktube realm mostly because I'm used to it, not because I have anything against book talk, but I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. Like the short form content, this
Yeah.
is where I live. I'm happy with this long form stuff. Mad respect to people who can do the short form. Um, but when it does come to, that realization that you mentioned about kind of deeper cuts into booktube and people being kind of sensitive
Hmm.
about certain authors, I just want to make sure you know that like that is something that is jarring for everyone that gets into this, because when you're a private reader, you don't really think about the author. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't. You read a book, and the book
Exactly.
title is what you remember, right?
Yep.
So I think a lot of us have gone through that process where you're like, all right, let me take this on board and think about it a little bit, so I just want to say that you're not alone in that moment, of realizing that. But i I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot by asking you about books that you've read recently, because whenever I ask a question like this, you forget every book you've ever read. But not you, but everyone does. But since you were just getting into reading,
Hmm.
have there been any books that ignited that love for you, whether it was off screen? before you started, or right after you started, you were like, I'm gonna keep doing this? Was there a
Yep.
book or two that did that for you?
Yep.
I would love to hear.
Literally the first book that I read, like to get back into reading, is what like sparked all of this. Because I feel like if the first book that I read, if it wasn't as good, I might not have like started doing videos as soon as I did. Um, but I actually got a couple of books right here. You know, I came a little prepared. But it was First Light Wins by Ashley Elston. This book right here was phenomenal. Like when I was reading it, and I say this a lot, but with this book in particular, like I really mean it. I felt like I was watching Netflix in my head, like with all the twists and turns and the the plot twists and the characters, like to really and before I never really read fiction. You know, I was more like nonfiction and financial books and stuff like that. So I was used to like the more or less boring like rigmarole and just sitting there and trying to really learn about what the book is talking about. But to be able to sit here and read this book and just follow along with the characters and the growth and the way that the story is moving, I was I was blown away. So that's definitely one of the books that like I love a lot since I got back into this and since I started booktube. Um, my second one, and this is in no particular order. Uh, my second one is Blacktop Wasteland, S.A. Cosby. S.A. Cosby is he's probably my favorite author right now. I'm not gonna lie. This man is like a sensational author. Blacktop Wasteland really got me into like the urban kind of gutter plots of books. You know what I mean? So I really like that a lot because I can relate to it. You know, I can relate to a lot of stuff that he was talking about in this book. And even though it's fiction, a lot of this stuff I've seen in in real life and in person. So it was this was a super good book. And the last one I'll talk about is just Harry Potter, real quick. I've never been a Harry Potter person. Like I never watched Harry Potter when I was younger. I wasn't like any of that. But it was one particular person in my comments since I started who kept saying, "Bro, please read Harry Potter, like please." And I didn't do it until whenever I did it. And when I read this book, instantly, instantly fell in love with Harry Potter. I went and got. I wanted to get wands, and I wanted to go get a cape, and I wanted to learn about Quidditch, and so Harry Potter was definitely one of those books that I'm going to continue reading because I only read the first one so far, and I loved it. So I want to continue to continue the whole series, and I bought the whole series itself with like a little box and stuff like that. So um, yeah, I love Harry Potter for sure. So those are three books, I guess, that kind of like I really love so far into this booktube journey.
Yeah. As someone who has Harry Potter tattoos, I,
Ah.
I'm with you on that one. um, yeah, woo, right? I was part of the Harry Potter generation, so I grew up reading it. Tale as old as time at this point, right? But and also S.A. Cosby, I have wanted to read. Razorblade Tears for so
Yep,
long by him,
that's
and
a
I've seen that
really
on
good
your
one.
channel as
Actually, that
well.
is a really good one.
Yeah, and I have a lot more comments, but I want to pass it to PL just because I saw him nodding a lot, and I feel like he's got some comments on those.
No, well, I just, and again, congrats again, because the vibes are blowing up the way you have. I just want to know from you, like, what do you think is, what do you ascribe your popularity to? Why do you think you blew up so fast? Like, what is it about what you do or your vibe that you think really just caused everybody to just gravitate towards your channel?
Honestly, I think it was just a different look on BookTube as well. Like, um, obviously, I'm a young black man, and the stigma out there is that black men or black people in general don't necessarily read, especially read for fun. So that was something that I really wanted to like stick into BookTube and like let people know that I love to read. Reading is like one of the things that I've always wanted to do. and I've always did. So that's one thing that I really think helped me kind of like push to a lot more people, because it was like especially um, just being different as well. I like to be a little more flashy. You know, I dress different from a lot of people on BookTube. You know, I talk a little different from a lot of people on BookTube. So I think that's played a major part. But also, I'm just super genuine. Like, I'm just super genuine. I'm a naturally happy person. I love laughing. I love smiling. I love making people happy. And that's just what I pushed. That's what I pushed out there. And I just, wanted to let people know what I do. And if you wanted to do it too, come join me. And we can all read, we can all have fun, we can talk about what we want to talk about. And it's just, build a little community, and let's just all, I call it the family reunion. When you come to my page, it's a family reunion. You my cousin, you my auntie, my uncle, whatever you want to be, we family. So just come join. We're gonna talk about books and have a good time.
Yeah, I love that. I love the positive vibe. Like that's one thing that I think Taylor and I certainly try to both cultivate in both our individual channels and collectively
Yeah.
we do page chewing. So kudos to you. Love that positive vibe. When you talk about building community, so are there other aspects of your channel? Like I know, for example, some people have Patreons. Some people
Hmm.
have Discords. Like, do you have other aspects of the community going on for you that you try and get people together in a collaborative manner?
I don't at the moment. I've definitely been talking about it. It's something that is in the works. It's something that I'm kind of trying to pace myself with, just because I do work a full time job, and I'm in a pretty um, daunting industry, being in construction. So I move around a lot, and I got a lot of things going on. But that's definitely something that I want to do, because I do want to get a little more like. You don't think I can, but I can get a little more personable, with my community. So um, that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. And I watch a lot of booktube, and I watch a lot of other people's pages, um, and I kind of see what they do. So I'm taking tips and tricks from everybody, and I'm putting something together slowly but surely.
Nice, nice. Well, before I turn back up to Taylor, just one more burning question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Just
By all
so
means.
how do you so booktube is wonderful, book talk is amazing, all of
Mhm.
these online spaces are amazing, and like you said, you keep it positive. I can see that about you. One thing I respect, I can see the positivity and watching your videos. How do you combat and stay above the negativity? Because we all know, unfortunately, there's a downside to booktube,
Oh yeah.
right? And there's sometimes there's comments that are people like to air, they're not just their grievances but just their opinions, and sometimes don't aren't always appropriate. Like, how do you rise above all the negativity, and how do you combat if so you get a comment on your channel that's how do you cope
Yeah.
with all that?
I honestly, I think what really helps me is just like where I come from, like the community I grew up in, and like the people that I had around me. I got pretty tough skin, and it's not a lot of stuff really bothers me, but especially like over the internet, to be honest. And I know it sounds kind of harsh, but it's just like people are gonna kind of say what they want to say over the internet. Um, and I'll just kind of have to take it. Like that's what it's a give and take with when you put yourself out there on the internet. So I don't necessarily I don't fight negativity with negativity, but I will tell you about yourself. Like I will, like if I feel like it's a good enough comment to where I kind of want to say something, yeah, I will say something. I'll say something about it. But I'm gonna be as positive as I can be with it, and just try and get you to either understand or just let you know that my content just may not be for you. So, I appreciate the comment. I appreciate you watching because it's helping me. But if this is not what you like, then I'm pretty sure there's something out there for you. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really bother me, and I don't get worked up about a lot of stuff. But one thing I can say that's good is that I don't really get too many negative comments. I'll get people that'll say like, oh, I don't like that, but I like this. You know what I'm saying? Or that's not really for me. That book specifically is not for me, or something like that. But I don't necessarily look at that as negative. That's just your opinion. We talking. I try and make my videos to where it's like I'm almost talking one on one. With my cousin. So Um, yeah, we just having conversation. So that's how I look at the comments. It's just a conversation. You saw something in the video, you commented on it, and we're gonna talk about it. Because I try and comment and like a lot of the stuff that I see in my comments. So I try and really interact with everybody and let them know how I feel about what they said or what's going on. So yeah, I don't take stuff too hard on the internet.
Yeah, that's a really admirable way to deal with it, man. Like, and again, enough respect for how lots of props for how you handle yourself and conduct yourself on in this space. So, kudos
Yeah,
to
no,
you,
I
man,
definitely
for that.
appreciate it.
Yeah, that's something that's really interesting, I find, about putting your opinions on the internet. Like you talked about how BookTube has kind of a like spicy underbelly when you get a little bit into it.
Yeah,
People have some
yeah,
opinions and they're not afraid to say it. But I feel like something that I've really grown with being on this platform is being able to 110% disagree with someone and just be like, that's cool. We
yeah.
can move on now, and it's a practice in that every day, like the first
Oh
couple of
yes.
videos, if I'm like, I love this book, and someone's like, yeah, I thought it was shit, then it kind of hurt a little bit. But after several years on here, I'm like, well, I guess
Yeah,
one
no, yeah.
person's trash
Hey,
is one person's treasure, right?
you know, I said in one of my videos, I said I ain't really like this book, so if you want my copy, you can have it. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Yeah.
you like what you like,
And
I
when
like what
you're
I. It is what it is.
exactly. And when you're on here long enough, you've got a rant reviewer or two out there where you just had to get your feelings out. Who are you to say
Oh
that someone
yeah.
else can't says they can't like something, right? So
Hmm.
I really value this community for that, because I've learned how to agree to disagree really well. But something that struck me from your answer to PL's question is, not only are you different demographically for like most of BookTube, but you're also
Yeah.
different in what you're open about liking. So I happen to be in an interview right now with two Black men who love romance and are proud to say it. But I
Yeah.
do think that that is a rare thing just for men in general to say with their chest, like, I like a romance
Oh,
book,
100%.
and
hundred
proudly
percent.
hold up one of those, pink covers and be like, this is my
Mm-hmm.
shit, right? So I'm curious, from PL as well, I would love to hear, but if you guys have ever gotten any pushback for being, into that particular genre openly. Because I know, just from my perspective, the reason I ask is, as a woman loving fantasy, especially grimdark and things like that, the gatekeeping really ramps up once you say you
Yeah.
like that, and you happen to be a woman. So I'm just curious if you guys have any particular experience with reading that genre specifically, if it's a
Yeah.
positive or negative experience. Both are fine.
I've I've got both sides of the coin.
Mm.
I've definitely got a lot more positive stuff, but than negative. But the negative things are out there, and what's funny is that the negative things, and I hate to say it, but the negative things come from people who look like me. You know, I've gotten I've gotten comments from women who say like, "Oh, you need to stop reading that girly stuff and read more history about our black people and things like that and stuff like that." And it's just like me, I'm just kind of looking at it like, okay, how do you know I haven't read anything about how do you know what I read? So don't just judge me off what I'm showing you. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, it's really been more positive than negative. Um, like I said, I love romance, and when you really get down into it, a lot of men love romance. Like a lot of men like these romance books and will read them, but they just don't want to show it. It's just more of like it's more of a stigma thing. Men want to be tough. Men want to be, you don't want nobody to try you, about you liking romance. But with me, I don't care. Like I like what I like, and if you don't like that I like it, you can skedaddle. Um, Other than that, it's it's fun. It's fun. I put a lot of my guys on the romance books that I read. I don't know if they read them. I don't think they read them, but they've open to reading them. So it's really just a stigma. It's really just a stigma, and a lot, like I said, a lot of men love romance. Like they just don't want to say it, and that's all that is.
I'd love to hear your take on that, PL, because I know your mom was a romance writer, right, as well?
Yeah, mom. Shout out to
Getting
mom
into
if
the
you're.
PL lore.
Yeah, mom. Shout out to mom if you're watching. Mom, love you. She's 89 years young. But yeah, you know what the thing is? I'm gonna be real right now. I have four children. So between Deb and I, we have seven, and I have four. She has three, and two of my children are girls. And people know that I love my boys and my girls equally, but my girls, like, so I've been called by some of my friends a feminist, because I advocate for a lot of things, especially the rights of women, right? Things like reproductive rights and things like that. I'm not trying to get too political here, but I'm just putting it out there that I was raised by a single black mother, right? So, like I have so much respect for the women in my life. My grandmother who helped raise me, like, I just learned, I think, so much admiration and respect for women. And then as I get older and I started becoming more self-aware and reading more and seeing more of life, just realizing, how critical women are to our species, right? Nothing starts without women, right? That's the womb area. That's where everything starts. So I think as I got older, and also with this, man, I love my people, man. I love all people, but I love my people, man. I love my black people. We're not perfect, right? No culture or race or identity is perfect, and there's some elements with my peeps that unfortunately, like sometimes it trends towards that. I think I saw a comment from your bro because of vibes of toxic masculinity. Yeah, we don't do that, man. Yeah, we don't do that, right?
Yeah.
So like respect and admiration for women, right? And you can have still an appreciation for things like, I taught my sons to hold doors open for women, right? But it's also, you also teach them, what, there are boundaries, and like when a woman says nope, that's nope, right? Like the things that you teach your sons to grow up to be strong and positive, people in the community and black men, but that doesn't mean you can't be empathetic and sensitive towards certain things. And I think personally, when it comes to literature, for me, like, I like well-rounded literature, like sex and love, that's part of life, man. That's a big part of life. That's, that's part of realism. And I want that in what I read. I want that in my literature. Just like, okay, like there's negative parts that, but it's realistic, like violence, like that's part of it. People love to see action scenes, battle scenes, explosions like that. It's not about glorifying, is that, that stuff is part of life. Right. So I would want that, if you read a fantasy book, you want to see world building. You want to see, you want to see what the places look like. You want to, know what kind of food they ate. You want to know, like how the society functions. But all those things are part of the realism. I think sex and love are part of it, man. So, I love that in my fiction. I love seeing, the realism of that aspect of life. And like, I mean, it's just, I think, but it can all be done in a certain way. And I think as like I said, as a black person, I've grown a lot over my life, in that, you kind of look at things very differently as you get older. And as I've grown older, I have so much more of a respect and admiration for just love in general. Like, love is love, right? Some of the best and the worst parts of my culture, sometimes, that when it comes to appreciating people from all, sexual orientations and preferences, like, that's a tough thing, right? But just to keep it real, like, love is love, man. People love who the hell who you want to, right? And but in our community, that's a tough, right? And there's certain reasons for that. I'm not going to get into it, but as you get older, it's like, hey, like, you have to, the biggest thing is treating everybody as you'd want to be treated, and loving people as you love yourself, and having appreciation for people from all spectrums. And because that's what we as black people want, right? We want to be respected and loved for who and what we are, right? So, it's just making sure you're not being hypocritical and you're doing that. You're giving that back is something that, I really appreciate. And I feel pretty secure in my masculinity, man. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know what I mean? So it's not a big deal to love if I love romance, so what? I love romance. It is what it is, right? It's not, it doesn't make, I don't think it makes me any less a man or any less, it just, that's what I like, right? So I'm not ashamed of
Hmm.
it. And that's what I taught. I've brought my kids up to be proud of who and what you are, no matter who and what you are, and be proud of what your tastes are, what you like, and you know.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
I love hearing both of you being such a strong voice for just embracing who you are and what you enjoy. If you are someone who doesn't enjoy romance, that's cool, But let's let the people who like it,
Exactly.
And it's just a
Exactly.
real shame that, and I'm glad that you both expounded upon that because obviously it's not a lived experience of mine. People expect me to read more romance than I do actually, based on what I look like. So I just love hearing the other perspective. But going from like the genres that you do read, being
Hmm.
someone who is not new to reading at all, but like I said a couple times, was rediscovering that. Are there any new genres that are calling to you that you're thinking about that you'd be interested in reading more of since being in this space?
Yes, yes. Fantasy. I've gotten into
Hey.
fantasy a lot. Like I said, I read Harry Potter. That's like a coveted fantasy that everybody talks about. But I've recently just finished A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Uh, and everybody said that book was like mid or it was okay, whatever. But I really liked it. Like I don't know if it's just because it's I'm newer to the fantasy genre or anything, but like everybody said that there was going to be a lot of world building, which it was. But the way that she like laid out the plot and the way that everything kind of unfolded, like it was really good in my opinion. Um, but yeah, definitely fantasy. I've actually I want to get into like horror books more too because I just got my first couple of Stephen King books and I got It, and that book is gigantic, but I love the movies and everybody says the books are like 10 times better, so I really want to get into like that, like thriller, like horror type genre as well. um but those are the two that I kind of really want to like dive in. 'Cause I feel like I'm really into everything else. I'm really pretty much into everything else. I read fantasy. I read. I mean, not fantasy. I read romance. I read rom coms.
Hmm.
Anything. Um,
Yeah. No, I've seen a
I
lot
don't
of lit fic
discriminate.
on your channel. A lot of hard hitting. Bluest Eye, Toni Morrison. Like you're definitely into a lot of different genres, which is one of the things that I love about your channel because I never know what you're going to pick up next, which is so delightful for me. As someone who's fantasy has been my home base for so long that it's so
Yeah.
great to see someone playing with different aspects. But I'm so happy to see you come into the dark side. Welcome. Um,
I'm
when it
trying.
comes to horror as well, I'm also an itty bitty baby in the horror community. I don't know that much, but I have also gotten into it in recent years, and it's interesting finding the type of reader you are there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because
You'll
just
find
like
out when you find out what
fantasy,
you really like.
yeah, there's so many subgenres, right? But Court of Thorns and Roses, I think, is a great starting point, especially considering you coming from enjoying the romance genre. I think that's a great crossover. I am probably gonna reiterate what a lot of people say, in that the second book is the best in that trilogy. I just,
That's exactly
it,
what I've heard. Yes,
yeah,
I've heard that.
it is. um, but I'm so excited to hear that you're coming into the fantasy world. May Another thing that I've noticed is not only do you read different genres, but you read different age ranges. Right, age ranges. Harry Potter
Yeah.
is middle grade, right? And then you're
Yep.
reading a lot of adult books. There's some YA in there. Um, do you kind of choose specifically based on your mood what kind of age range you're going to read, or is it just kind of random? Are you open to anything? How
it's
do you
really
choose?
it's really random, to be honest. I don't necessarily look at like the age ranges, if that's like it's kind of weird, but I don't necessarily look at like the age ranges. I just kind of see if like I read the back or I look at the book, and if I want to read it, I'm gonna read it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't necessarily care if it's like a YA book or even a kid's book. You know what I mean? Or an adult book.
Mhm.
Something like super old. Like way above my head. Like it doesn't really matter if it interests me, and I feel like I want to read it at the time. Then that's what I'm gonna do. But when I review it though, I will try and tailor it towards whoever the book is, meant for. So if it's like a YA book, then I will try and like tailor that review towards, teens and people, my age or a little younger. But yeah, when I'm choosing a book, so I don't necessarily look at the book as an age range. I just, if I like it, I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, they all of the different age ranges have beautiful things about them,
Exactly.
I just ask because I know that when I'm in the mood for a middle grade, there's like certain reasons why, right? Like, so I want the whimsy, I want the joy, I want this happens because we say it happens, so there are certain tropes that I enjoy, which is why I asked. But I did want to pull up a couple questions, or not questions, but comments here from Tina, who said, "What a positive space to share common love for books and reading. So proud of you."
That's awesome.
So
That's my girlfriend. I appreciate you, babe.
Oh, that's awesome.
my
That's
God.
awesome.
Yes, we love a supportive partner over here. And I want to get into fantasy so bad. The book community definitely hypes it up. Anytime, ask me for a rec. I am available.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Taylor, got another comment.
No, PL, go ahead. I'll pull that up after.
No, I was just gonna say for Cousin Vibes, man, two iconic authors, intellectuals, award-winning, academics, Peter Jelly Clark and N.K. Jemisin. You talked about horror, fantasy horror. Peter Jelly Clark's Ring Shout. I mean, it's fantasy horror. The monsters are the KKK. It is, like such a brilliant, and it's a short book, but it's brilliant, man. High rec that highly. And N.K. Jemisin, what can I say? What N.K. Jemisin, probably the most decorated Black science fiction fantasy author out there right now. So I read all her stuff, but the 100,000 Kingdoms. Yeah, that was Chef's Kiss, man. It's
Kiss, okay.
It's got everything. It's got drama. It's got romance. It's got it's really N.K. Jemisin's stuff is amazing. The City We Became, that is definitely really fantastic. She takes New York City, and she gives all the boroughs life, like a personality, and they're basically combating evil, which is like racism. It's so well done, man. It's so well done. So
I like that. Okay.
So yeah, City We Became, you probably love that. But Ring Shout, man, that if you want fantasy horror, Taylor, you've read a lot of Jelly Clark more than me, actually. And,
my God, I'm such a Clark fan. I'm a fangirl. But we did have him on this channel, and he is a brilliant author.
Oh yeah, he's brilliant.
But yeah, Ring Shout, I had that's one of the only things I haven't read by him. But after talking to him and hearing where he pulled those horror elements from, it's fantastic. So highly support those recommendations. And, we don't have to spend this whole interview doing recs, but behind the scenes, if you want those fantasy recs. I got so many.
I'm here for all the recs. I want to read everything.
Yeah, so I saw Nima Saunders comment about fantasy horror. Yeah, I recommend Nima, like Ring Show. That's an amazing book. That is amazing.
I'll read it out just in case people are only listening. The comment says, "I want to get into fantasy, maybe horror, but I don't watch scary movies." Me either, girl. Me either. I might need some good fantasy books that I can enjoy because I'm the type that if I don't like it, I won't pick up another fantasy. So, just want to give that context. Yeah. Ring Shout for sure. I am also a little baby. Horror movies, absolutely not. Something about horror books, they work. I don't know why.
I love horror movies. I love horror movies. I love.
Give me some of your strength.
Haunted
I can't do it.
Haunted house. Like and it's not even that I like scary things, because I honestly don't like scary things. But it's more of like an adrenaline thing. Like, I get my adrenaline going, and I'm just kind of like,
Mm.
oh, this is good.
I'm just such a baby. I guess I don't like to be scared, but then it works I don't know. Maybe I do because it works in books. I have no idea. I'm an enigma.
Oh, my girl, awesome,
City of Enigma is
Birdie.
one of my favorites.
What's up?
Actually, this kind of. Oh, I'm sorry, PL. My bad.
No, I was saying shout out to Birdie in the books. She's a wonderful YouTuber too. Check out her channel. She's amazing. We share a birthday, so it's my sister from another mother. So shout out to
Hey,
Birdie. Like I said, check out her channel. Alicia, she is an
birthday
amazing, just a
twins.
warm, wonderful human being. So thanks for stopping by. I just want to give her a shout out.
Yeah, the reason that I said it reminded me is The City We Became is a book that I read via audio. And almost all of my audiobooks are from the library because audiobooks are ridiculously expensive. And for those who are watching who maybe don't know, I live in Japan, but I'm from the States. So yeah, so the library is crucial to me. I would die without my Libby app. I don't know what I would do without it. And that's how I access The City We Became. And that brings me to one of my other questions for you, Cousin Five, which is your recent video was you spreading the library love. You went to a library, you got your first library card in a
Yeah.
long time. And as someone who champions that, I don't think enough out loud on my channel, but in my personal life, would die without libraries. Just kind of was wondering if you'd like to expand on that, what your experience was like, any hype for libraries you'd like to spread.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, 100%. That library experience was like, that was what I needed. Like, that's what kind of like gave me like a good restart. You know what I mean? Because especially because the library is like right up the street from where I'm from, so it's literally like a 2 minute drive, and just gotta walk up to the parking garage or whatever. But like I said, I haven't been to the library in literally like probably since I was a child. So 10 plus years, I have not been to a single library. And when I walked into the library, it literally, no exaggeration, was just a different kind of feeling than walking into a bookstore or any other place that sells books. It's just a different feeling when you get in there. I mean, obviously, it's dependent on what your library looks like, but our library, it was just so big, and it had so many books and things that it had free books. You know what I'm saying? It had books that just came out. It had older books, and then just being able to walk up and down the aisles and pick what you want. It was a super dope experience. And then the library also just has so many other like amenities that people really don't think libraries have. Like computer spaces and spaces for your kids if you want to go in there and read or sit down and just get away from the house or something like that. It's just super dope. And then the main thing that I love about the library is the librarians, because when I got in there, like I said, I didn't know nothing about anything going on in the library. But as soon as they seen me looking a little lost, like just kind of like, uh, they were like, "Do you need some help? Can we help you with anything? Can we, explain anything or anything like that?" And it was just so nice, and it was a warm feeling because where I'm at, it is a predominantly white area, so you don't really see black people too often in this area. So when I'm in the library and they come up and just talk to me like I'm any other person, that makes me feel good. And it makes me want to come to the library more often and actually want to the um, spread the library to other people. Like, yo, like this library is not like, libraries are it. You need to go to the library. And they had other stuff to do. Like in that video, I was doing a puzzle. Like I don't remember the last time I even touched a puzzle, but I seen it in the library and I wanted to finish it. So the library is just an amazing resource for anybody, really. I don't care how young you are, how old you are. You can use the library pretty much for whatever you want to use it for. Um, and also the perks you get with the library is like they told me I could check out 100 books at a time. But I don't know why I would ever need to check out 100 books at a time, but you have the option. So like that is amazing. And then you can like recheck out books like 3 weeks at a time if nobody, if it's not on like a wait list or anything like that. So like that's super dope because if I didn't get to read it, I don't have to just instantly give it back. Um, so I just think super dope to just check out your library. Like even if you don't want to go, just go check out a library. You know what I'm saying? Um, you might end up liking it, you might not like it, but as long as you check it out and you just know that it's there, I think that's good enough, and you know that you have that that resource and that access to a library because, like you said, books and audiobooks can get expensive. Like I know firsthand. I'm blessed to be in a position where I can buy as many books as I would like, but you don't want to do that every day, all day, all the time. So being able to go check out a book and not have to pay for it is would you Pierre, would you say chef's kiss? Like I like that. So shout out to the library and all the librarians because yeah, I'm here for it.
I mean, with you 100%. Like I said, I would perish without mine. Like the libraries here, they're amazing for even having an English section, but it does not cut it, right? Yeah, they're incredible for what they do, and I feel like people forget that it's literally free books. Like they're. I don't know why people are sleeping on libraries because I don't know what other media we have free, legal, just completely open access to. It seems like such a waste not to take advantage of that,
Yep.
And not to mention also, we've been also very lucky to have a librarian on here before. They don't just do that. They do community outreach, job search.
Yes.
They help everyone in the community with what they need, wherever they are in their life. Like it's just a free resource for what you need. So just the library love, I'm here for it completely. But I wanted to pull this up because your enthusiasm in this last library love moment is a perfect segue. Five's channel has helped me remember why I love books and reading. His excitement is infectous. Hey, which I agree with. I agree with. Not only, like I said, is it the many genres that you read, but it's also watching someone rediscover how cool reading is. Because I feel like if you're in the community for long enough, sometimes you feel like reading, God forbid, it becomes like a chore or content or a numbers game, or there's a lot of things that can change about reading when you make content about it. And there's something so beautiful and engaging about watching someone fall in love with the act rather than the content. And I think that's something that draws a lot of people to you.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you have any
100%.
comments on that journey. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because literally the first thing um, that I said to myself when I started my channel was that I'm not worried about I'm not starting this because I want to make a lot of money or I want a lot of views or anything like that. Like I'm doing it because first off I want to prove something to myself that I can do it and continue to do it, but also I just love what I'm doing right now. I love reading and I want to show that to other people. So that's just what I did. So I think being able to like disassociate the material things away from what you love is like a big part of what will help people be okay with like slow growth or what I'm saying, just moving at your own pace, because it's not, I didn't know that my channel was going to blow up. I didn't know that it was going to be like this, but I dedicated myself to something and I just made it and it's something that I loved and it just kind of took off. So this is super dope, and I love it. I love it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, we are so delighted to have you. Open to anyone who wants to join. Sina said, thank you so much for this live. It's so cool you're doing this. I'll definitely come back to it later and watch it back. Oh, please do. People who watch Page Chewing, like you are the people who make Page Chewing what it is. There's a whole playlist, by the way, Sina, if you're watching this back, of really interesting minds, creatives, authors. We've got agents that have been on here. Just have fun. Enjoy the replays. The library is so nostalgic for me. Yes. After school memories. I forgot the libraries existed until Bro went.
Hey, bro, you
It's easy.
hilarious.
They're quiet. They're quiet. And Jocelyn says, what's awesome is a lot of libraries have made it possible to get library cards, even if you don't live in that country or state. The rules are different at each library. And I think you mentioned
That
this
is
too, right?
that is a super, because when I went in, the one of the main reasons I didn't go to the libraries because I move around a lot. But another reason is that I thought you had to live like in that area for a certain, either for a certain amount of time, or you had to like be from that area. So when I went to the library, I just went up and asked, and I'm like, is there any way that I can get a library card? Like if I'm not necessarily from here, but I live here for the moment, and they talked me through the process and got me a library card. So just go and ask. That's all you got to do. Is you ask. You know what I'm saying? But my mom always told me is closed mouths don't get fed. So you go ask. Go ask what you want to ask, and you'll figure it out. And like she said, every library is different. So all you got to do is ask that, and you'll figure it out.
That's something I think PL can attest to. We've learned with page doing. The amount of people who have said yes just because you ask is wild. Like, it's kind of cliche, but the worst thing someone can say is no, like over a screen or even in person, but still, like, just go ask, right? And Tina also says, I grew up reading books, but he made me fall in love with it again, which is so beautiful.
Shout out to you, babe.
It's so beautiful.
I'm glad I could do
Oh,
that.
we love a reading couple. Oh my gosh. My husband reads mostly manga. I'm trying to get him into novels, but he loves cooking books because he's a chef, so he reads recipe books or he reads manga. So we have very disparate tastes.
I was trying to get into, like, somebody told me to read, how do you pronounce it? Manga? Is how you
Manga?
pronounce it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wanted to get into it, but when I picked up a book, I didn't realize that they went the opposite way. So it
Yeah,
kind of
why would
really
you know
threw
that,
me off.
right?
Yeah, like I want to get into it though, but it just really threw me off, threw me for a loop.
Yeah. Manga is interesting. It has its own tropes, like a lot of genres do. And so if you're not, it's very dramatic, but in a way that is very fun if you're in the right mood for it. But like monologues, completely normal there in the way that they're normal in superhero comics. You know, there are a lot of kind of similarities there. Again, when it comes to giving recommendations, having been on the online space, I like to know what someone wants to read before I give like a standard rec. But I will say that my husband's favorite manga is Parasite. It's kind of horror-y, which is why I would mention it. It's actually a parasite that starts to take over human bodies, and this human has to figure out how to live with it. So it's very horror-esque. So because you mentioned that, I would say that. But yeah, take your time. There's an iceberg of manga out there. I'm not even close to discovering it myself. But I would like to, at the risk of sounding hypocritical after our library love moment, talk a little bit about the joy of collecting books, because I've seen on your channel that you're getting bookshelves or installing bookshelves. Welcome to the club, my dude. It's...
Oh, that's one of my favorite animes. I'm sorry, I was looking at the comments.
No, please
I'm
do.
rewatching Death Note right now. Like I love Death Note. Like that is one of my
That's
favorite.
Originally a manga, so you're already ahead of the game. Yeah. Death Note's great. It is. So speaking of collecting editions, they've got this beautiful black edition of like Death Note where it's all like beautiful and looks like monochrome on your shelf. It's great. So there is, while libraries are key and like I said would perish without them, there is a joy, if you can't tell, to having the physical book, the beauty of a physical book, even a special edition, behind you. So I'm curious if you've noticed a change in your buying habits, if you've noticed a change in your collecting goals since joining this space, because I feel like a lot of us have gone through a revolution after joining booktube.
Yeah, as my brother can attest, there is. I just said in my last, I have a problem now. Like I literally have a book buying issue because anywhere that there are books, I feel like I have to have one. Like there is no way that I can walk past shelves that have books and not get a book. even when I travel, like I'm going to the airport, and you know how expensive airport books can get. I still have to have at least one book. Like the book buying and like the collecting is what I feel is like um enticing to everybody. You know, like is what enticing to everybody, and being able to watch people build a collection maybe from something small to something big, or big to even bigger, 10 times bigger. Like people really like that, and it just makes me feel good personally, like when I can go somewhere, see a book that I like. All right, bro. um, Seeing books that I like, and just grabbing them, because I personally am on my journey to building my collection as big as I can get. And you talking about he can't stop buying books. I can vouch. All right, bro. You ain't even have to put me out there like that. Um,
At least you're in good company. PL and I are not a stranger to that affliction. I mean, Exhibit A behind both of us, right?
Because I made that video about my bookshelf, and shout out to my mom because she actually bought that for me. But it's it was a fairly like mid-sized bookshelf. Like it was small, but it wasn't like too small. And yeah, I outgrew that bookshelf like in that video. So like it wasn't even big enough for all the books that I thought I had. And my collection is like two times bigger than that now. Like I'm putting books in my TV stand and stuff like that. So um, I love collecting books, and I just love going to bookstores because bookstores are very different from libraries in a good way. Bookstores create their own like aura. You know what I mean? Bookstores are bookstores are like somewhere where you can go and like dive into somebody else's thoughts. You know what I mean? Because the people who own bookstores, like it's their bookstore. So like the bookstore I have here is Main Street Books. I've never been into a bookstore like that. It had like records everywhere. It had a bunch of nostalgic stuff and stuff like that. And books were just piled everywhere. Like obviously they were laid out in a professional fashion, but they were just everywhere. So when you go into a bookstore, you kind of get you get the vibe of the bookstore, and I like that a lot. I like building my collection and making it look nice, and stuff like that. So building, just buying books is a different it's a different type of feeling than going to the bookstore. And I actually I think I've seen a free little library. To Jocelyn's comment, I just seen pop up. I seen a little free library somewhere out here. I got to figure out where it was at, but those are super dope. And I got some books that I kind of want to exchange because I've seen people do it on other videos. And I think that's super dope because if you put that out there and you show people that you don't even have to buy a book, you can just go grab a book for free. You know what I mean? Because some people want to read, but they just can't buy books. So everybody isn't fortunate enough to be able to just go out there and buy books. So those little free libraries are super dope. But yeah, just building my collection is it's pretty important to me, because like I love reading, and I just want to. It's a good way to show that you love reading, And now it's kind of more like an aesthetic thing with a lot of people, but for a lot of people, it's still just about showing that you love reading. Like this is what I like to do. This is my hobby. This is my passion, or whatever it is for you, and this is how I show it. You know what I mean? So yeah, book buying is something that I love to do. Oh, there's an app. Jocelyn, I'm glad you're here because you put me on. There. I appreciate that.
Okay, can you give the app's name just to help us out?
Shout out the apps.
And we got some little free libraries. Yes, those are beautiful. Have you heard of those?
Yeah. I think that's the app she's talking about. She's talking about the apps to locate the
little free libraries. Got it. I apologize. I had to step out for a second, so I hope I'm not repeating anything that you said when I came back here. But I find that, as I heard you say, that your collecting has changed, and you're looking to build a collection to show your eclectic tastes, and what you have read and what you want to read, and the fact that you love reading in general. But what I find interesting is the change of your goals from when you start collecting to when you finish, or not finish because you never finish, but the change that you go through with what your goal is in collecting. Now, I do think I'm in a unique position in that, like I said, I live in Japan, and eventually there will be a move back to the States. So any book that comes in, there's also not a market here. Can't be selling it. So I'm very specific about where my money goes.
Yeah.
And it's got to look pretty because I am a shallow human being. Okay. It's got to look pretty. So I'm very specific. But in the beginning, I wasn't. I wanted to own, at one point, I wanted to own every book I'd ever read. And that goal has shifted for me. And it's allowed to shift, it's allowed to change. But I'm curious if there's a specific goal you have now. Do you want to own every book you've ever read? Do you want to have like an eclectic space? Are you trying to get it as big as possible? What are your feelings now for collecting?
My feelings now are definitely trying to own every book that I've ever read. It's just, and I feel like that's more of, I don't even want to say beginner, but like when you first start getting into this space and you really love reading and you're reading a lot, or you're reading a lot for yourself. Let me say that, because everybody reads differently. But like when you feel like you're reading a lot and you're just running through books, you want to keep them. You want to keep them to show yourself like, yeah, I read that book. Like, I read that book. Oh, I read that one. You know what I mean? And it's always nice, like when I go in my bedroom and I look at my bookshelf and I look at all the books I got and I'm like, oh no, I read a lot of books, So it's a good feeling to see all the books you read, and then it's just something about having like a super huge collection, like even like looking at y'all's backgrounds, like that is amazing to me. How many books that y'all got. So I think having something, having like a big collection and something like really entices me too. So sometimes I do just kind of buy books to buy books, which is bad to say, but I do it, and they're books I'm going to read eventually, hopefully. But, I just like to buy books, and I like having books, and especially books that are going to make the bookshelf look good. Because I am starting to get into more of like the limited edition books, or books that have like I just learned what decal pages were the other day, like last week or something like that.
But don't let you find out about digitally sprayed edges. The game is over for you once you find those out. Do you want?
Is that the books that have like the red and stuff like on the pages?
Those are block sprayed. Let me show you some digitally sprayed. Let me just ruin your day here. Hold on. So this is a set. This is a set here, and they all have like galaxy edges.
Yo,
yeah,
that is amazing. Okay.
And so this is like a pretty tame example. People got like the whole scenery, things on the edge. So
yeah,
don't do it because of vibes. Don't do it because once you start, man,
it's a whole world.
You're addicted. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I think my wallet just tried to run away.
Yeah, it's a different world, and it's one that, like I said, your goals change. Like wanting to own every book you've ever read in whatever form is most comfortable for you. Maybe that well-read book feels the best. Totally valid. Like I said, my circumstances, I think, are a little bit unique in that I have to vet everything, and I don't have the ability to shop, whereas a lot of people in English-speaking countries, might. So I just wanted to kind of get like your thoughts where you were nowadays. I was just flexing. I'm here for it.
Bro, you are.
Oh, I am. These were pricey. I'm about to flex whenever I can.
Taylor, you're on a whole level. You're on a whole other level from me, man. I don't like you gotta and because if I was to tell you especially when you get to the fancy stuff, because of the special editions, that's a thing. That's a thing, man.
That is a thing.
Like broken binding. Don't like when you start going there.
Don't Google them.
Yeah, don't do it because
I've been exposed now. I'm gonna start Googling stuff, and next thing y'all gonna see on my page, I'm gonna just have All of it.
You can blame me. I accept the blame if that happens.
Because like some of those books, the artwork that's in there, it's crazy. The sprayed edges, like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's a whole other thing. But that's book, as Taylor differentiated. That's book collecting and book buying and reading they're different things, right?
Oh,
so
100%.
like I have friends that they're obsessive book buyers, but they're all about like basically dime store stuff and book sales and like 2-for-ones. But then I have other friends that like their entire shelf is hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's all special editions and just collector's editions and things you can't most people can't afford, right? So but however you do it right. As long as you love books, it's all good, right? You know what I mean? Like some people, they get their sneakers at Walmart, and some people it has to be the those rare Jordans, or you know what I mean? Like, so it's all about whatever you like, right? It's all good.
Yeah, it's all preference, man. It's all what you choose to do.
Yeah, it's just like collecting anything, and I don't, you've been so generous with your time, so I don't keep you for too long, so I won't delve into this now, but I think it would be really interesting. Oh, good. Thank you for that. I think it'd be so interesting to, if not today, but in the future, delve into the idea of consumerism on BookTube and especially Book Talk. As someone who's not on Book Talk, I see Book Talk when it gets to Instagram, okay, because I'm old and I see it, week after it's released. But it's interesting to see that conversation because books are seen as learning and highbrow and expanding your life, which they are in many, many, many ways. But the explosion in the popularity of reading has led to a consumerism discussion, which has always existed, even before I was part of the community. But it's really taking off because you have a lot of people discovering books and then within that first month of discovering books, wanting a full bookshelf and buying a lot of things that they're not sure if they're going to like or they're not going to like. And I've seen discussions of it almost as if it's like a fast fashion trend, like as it's parallel to that. And it's not something I have an answer to, but I just find it to be an interesting conversation because there is a huge consumerism side to it too.
100%.
Yeah.
I like to speak on it briefly. I think it's definitely like a consumerism thing, and I think it's more of right now. It's more of like a fad sort of thing because you go on Book Talk, and stuff like that. You got I'm a book girl or I'm a book boy or something like that. And like you may very, but it's more of like an aesthetic thing. Like now, people love aesthetics. People love like instant gratification. You know what I mean? So when they're talking about books, they want to show that they love books. So like I said, I like having a lot of books, but a lot of people want to get a lot of books because it's aesthetically pleasing when you're talking about books. So I think it definitely plays a lot into like consumerism and people just buying stuff just to buy it so they can look good for other people or it can look good for the aesthetics of whatever they're talking about. It fits whatever they're talking about, so they have to buy something to make it work, and appeal to the people that they're trying to appeal to. And I feel like we all do it in more ways than others, but yeah, it's a very interesting topic. It's a very interesting topic, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think it varies a lot platform to platform. Like Book Talk, you got to grab someone's attention in the first 10 seconds. So if you got a big bookshelf behind you, that's much more attention grabbing than a white wall, So there's just a lot of things that go into it. But I wanted to pull up Daniel's comment here because he's a fantastic, viewer of the channel, always has really insightful comments. And he says, I'm a full spectrum book buyer. I am ashamed to say that we are similar. My most expensive book costs $200, but I've also got plenty of 10-cent yellowing paperbacks. Yeah. I second that. There's beauty to both. And I had to stop buying books. I buy the ones I read and want to reread or books I know I'm going to love. There's a cap. I feel like everyone reaches a cap. And it depends on the person's journey, their reading habits, and what they read, what that cap is. But I remember, PL, let me not speak for you, but I do remember you were really trying to not fill up your shelf, but buy a lot of books for a while there after entering the booktube community. And then recently you've said you're focusing on backlist, I think. Was that part of your
Yeah.
journey? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so now I have like I've reorganized my TBRs. I'm a TBR guy, and it's not for everybody, but I like have so many books that I bought, and I bought them because I plan to read them. So, but the thing is, I just kept buying more books, reading those ones instead of not getting to the ones I was. So
Mhm.
now I've totally
The
just
best of
refilled them.
intentions.
Yeah. Plus, my wife, she sees the credit card bill. Is like, you bought more books again? I'm like, but so because you haven't read those ones. I'm like, you're right, honey. So I focused on reorganizing my TBR. So and you know what? I've been so happy. I've gone to books like, especially I have like series, and I read like book one, and I never returned to two and three. And I love the first book, but I never got back to. So
Never got
that's
to
a
it.
shame. Yeah. So now I'm correcting that. I'm finishing all my series on my shelves. I have about maybe 40 books left that I have to read that I haven't read. So I've organized that to be. So I had an initial 45, and I made that into my summer, like kind of spring summer TBR. And now those other books are going to be my fall winter TBR, plus all the arcs I have, because I've been blessed to have authors send me arcs, which really humbling, right? So you want to get to those, right? Because people send those to you, for free, basically in exchange for honest review kind of thing. So I need to get those. So I told my wife before I buy more books, yeah, one-offs, one thing, because it's achieving. She gets like sometimes Casey book on sale is like, yeah, I'm gonna get that, right? Because I want to read that for sure. But in terms of like going on those massive book hauls, no, until I get those books on my shelves and all the arcs I have, like digitally done, then I have permission because there's space in the office. You can't see it's on the other side for a nice, not a huge book, another huge bookshelf, but I have like space for another regular size bookshelf, and
Mhm.
that's gonna be I'm gonna fill that up. But yeah, so that's my plan. So really, I'm getting to what I already bought, right, and what I bought because I figured I would love it. So, but I do, because if I was just talking about books, like there's so many books that I read physically, and honestly and truly, that I read electronically. And honestly and truly, I prefer physical books. I prefer like that feeling of that book in your hand and reading the
Yeah.
pages and flipping. I love that. That's my preference to read. So there's a lot of books I only had on e-copy. I want to buy those physically and put on my shelves because those books I'm going to reread. Because I feel like if it is a book I love enough to reread it, I'm not going to buy it for my shelves, right? Because I want to get that value to books and that I can pick. Like, there's some books like I've reread a million times. You know what I mean? Like some of my favorite authors, I've reread and reread their books. I want books like that I find that reread value. Because then for me, I feel like you're getting the most out of the money spent on a book, right? If you spent $20 on a book and you read it 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times in your
Oh
life,
yeah, I'm getting my
that's
money
you know what
back.
I mean. That book has earned what you spent on it, right? So yeah, so that's my goal. Yeah, you're right, Taylor. Trying to read what's on my shelf. So
Well, like I've said a couple times, I just want to reiterate, we're all at different parts in our journey, and you cycle. You cycle through where you are on that. I have a feeling that once the move to the States happens, I'm going to be set loose. I haven't been in a secondhand bookstore in ages, and I'm about to be a fucking menace when that happens. Um, One more comment here from Daniel. Books are hard to fit into the obsession with aesthetics. If you spend $1,000 on clothes, you're at the same level as someone who's had $1,000 of clothes for 6 months. With books, you still have to read. That's a really interesting point.
That's a great point, actually.
And something that really hits true, and I kind of want to bounce this off you five with, we've chosen to make content about something that is extremely hard to make content about, because not only do you
Oh
have to
yes.
find access to a book, whether it's through a wonderful library or purchasing a beautiful edition or whatever, but then you have to read that. And reading takes a hot minute. It really
Yeah.
does. Even if you're a speed reader, that's at least a day or two on a book, right? Whereas someone could watch a movie in a couple hours and do a review.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering, you had mentioned having a full-time job. This took off quickly. How are you kind of balancing your love of books in this community with your real life?
It's honestly been pretty hard. Like I said, when I first started this, like when I first started BookTube, um, I was working from home. So like I was in between projects with my job, so I was working from home, and I was working from home, but I wasn't really doing much. So I had a lot of time to read, and I had a lot of time just to sit there for hours on end and read books. But once I got back on site, it got a little more difficult because I had to dedicate, a majority of my day to work and actually, talking to people and not having that time to just sit there and read. So I had to like not necessarily force myself, but find, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there to read, and set like a page goal every single day. So even though I'm at work or if I'm on a lunch break or if I'm off of work and I'm just kind of lounging around, you got to just find that time to, read a few pages or read a set amount of pages to get your goal done. And it does get a little daunting when you make content about it because you want to get content out. But one thing that I'm still trying to like get into my head is that you don't want to force nothing. I'm very authentic, so I don't lie about anything that I'm doing really. So if I haven't read a book or if I haven't got to reading the book or finished it, like I'm not going to put out a video, you know what I mean? Or I'm going to find something else to talk about that's still authentic, So it's really just all about time management. It's really time management for me and making sure that everything fits because I don't want to burn myself out either. So if I just don't have time to read the part of the book today, then I'm just not going to read today. You know what I mean? I'm not going to force myself to do something in the sake of content. You know what I mean? Because this is something that I truly do love to do. I love to read, and I love making. Um, I like actually getting into these books and diving into the pages. So like if I'm not in the mindset of getting into the book, then it's just not going to work for me. And I'm just going to be reading. I'm going to forget everything that I just read. So again, it's just time management. And like my brother said in the comments, it's quality over quantity for me. The quality of the video is more important than the quantity of the video. So if I don't put out a video, like I said, in 2 weeks, like it kind of sucks for me, but I don't really harp on it too much because I know that when I drop another video, when I put out another video, it's going to be a quality video because I actually read, either enjoyed or didn't enjoy the book, but I read it and these are like real reviews. These are my real emotions. This is not just me forcing something on y'all for the sake of getting it out there. So like I said, I keep reiterating it, but it's just time management, and just finding time to read books in between work and the gym and whatever else you got during your day. So it's a little stressful sometimes, but you can make it work if you really want to.
Yeah, sometimes life be lifing. There's not much you can do about it. And it's just so tough.
Life be lifing.
Yes, sometimes. And you really hearing you say that is refreshing to me as someone who, has felt the pressure to make sure that it's consistent. I do a lot of vlogs on my channel. Those take a lot of editing. It's nice to hear other creators feel the same way that I do. Take your time with it, and it's better to put out something of quality rather than something every week, if you can. Like I said, we chose like the hardest type of content, which is reading a book and then talking about it, which takes a hot minute, right?
And I try and like let people know too that it's like, because I'm very much like a slower reader. Like you don't have to feel forced to try and speed read through every book. Some books you may get through faster than other books, but you have to go at your own pace. Otherwise, you're just not going to want to read no more. You're trying to read through 7 books in a week. Like, no, that's not normal. That's not what everybody does. So just read at your own pace, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, monetizing your free time comes with a lot of side effects, for sure.
Yeah.
It's something to navigate. Before we do the sign off or, ask our last couple questions, I did want to put this comment up, which is, what's your favorite book that y'all have to reread all the time if y'all have one? Just to give you guys a minute to think. For me, honestly, this is something I need to work on. I'm actually currently working on a reread vlog, which has some secret books that I'm finally rereading, because I did fall victim to feeling like rereading a book was like a waste of time, which is a lie. And I logically know this, but I felt like I needed to read something new to talk to people about. So I specifically made a reread vlog, planned that. So I am rereading books finally. But to answer this question, just in my life, my fourth Harry Potter book, the spine fell apart, and I read it in tiny little sections. Like it's in these little snippets, specifically the fourth one. So in my life, Goblet of Fire. Could probably quote the whole book.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys. Do you have an answer to that one?
You can go ahead, Pierre.
Okay, thank you. No, it's gotta be. And if you haven't read the series, Song of Ice and Fire, most people know Game of Thrones, A Storm of Swords. That book is, I've reread that book I don't know how many times. I mean, that book is the third book in the series, and of course, we all wonder if George R. R. Martin's ever going to finish the series. But irrespective of that, this book is it's got both the red and purple weddings. If you know, you know, right? It's got it's got the
not a shout out to the red wedding, PL.
Oh yeah. It's got the Mountain and the Viper going at it. That like the best duel, one of the best duels in fantasy. It's got a lot of Jon Snow stuff, like Battle Castle Black stuff. That's when Daenerys basically turned into the Breaker of Chains. So it's like just the whole book has so many amazing storylines. We see Jaime Lannister, who's like, a flawed character, anti-hero. You get to learn more about him and why he's the way. The book is just, that book is one of my favorite reread value books. And I have a lot of books I reread, but if I can say what's the book I've reread the most, that's probably the one. It's Storm of Swords, book 3, in back there. It's on top of the shelf there. George R. R. Martin, Sword of Fire. Yeah.
Okay. I gotta stick to my romance, man. It's one book that I really do love that I haven't told anybody, but I've reread this book probably like 3 times since I read it. But that is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Like when I read that book for the first time, it was just so mind blowing. I just loved everything about that book, and I literally pretty much carry that book everywhere I go. It's just one of those books that caught me in a way that I've never expected, especially with like romance, because I love romance, but it was just so authentic, and it was just, the way that everything progressed in that book. I was blown away. So yeah, I pretty much carry that book everywhere I go. To be honest, because if I find myself like in a reading slump where I just don't feel like reading the book that I'm currently reading, I'll just open that book up and I'll be back to 100%.
I have yet to hear a bad word about that book, and it's from people who read all different genres. So I'm pretty sold on 7 Days in June. And Daniel had an answer to this. When I was a kid, I reread Tom Sawyer a bunch of times. I don't think I could name a single book today, but I've reread most of the Cosmere books quite a few times. Yeah, Cosmere. I have reread a lot of the Cosmere. The Cosmere is a world in fantasy written by Brandon Sanderson. It's like a big universe, kind of Marvel-esque, lots of connections. So it's it requires
good things about Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of entry points to his work, depending on where you are in your reading journey and what you're kind of in the mood for. But yeah, it's like a whole universe. You just have to be ready to kind of, if you want to dive into that or not. But the whole top shelf here, which you can't see, is his stuff. So I'm with Daniel on that. But this has been so much fun, but we don't want to keep you too long. So I wanted to let PL ask any other questions that he had. I have basically one more, but PL, I want to give you the floor in case there's a couple that came up while you're talking.
Oh, I'm honored. And Because of you've been so awesome with your time. And like Taylor said, we don't want to monopolize the holiday. But I do have one question that's burning me. So, again, kudos and congratulations on the channel, how well you've done. Things have blown up. So who are the booktubers that you turn to that like must watch for you? Like, whether it's ones that have inspired you to kind of get in and keep going, or ones that you found along the way. Like, who are the booktubers that are must watch for you?
The one who really got me into booktube, and I feel like I bring his name up a lot, honestly, but it's Jack Edwards. Jack Edwards is like who I first seen when I came on YouTube, and I literally just searched books, and he was one of the first people to pop up, and I just kind of like fell in love with his videos and all of the type of books that he talks about, just the way he talks about the books. It was real. Just you could just sit there and watch it all day, So that's one of the main people. Another one is what's his name? His name is Ian. I call him Ian G because I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's like I don't even want to butcher it. But Ian G, and he does like a lot of vlogs. He does like reading challenges with his I think it's his wife and everything. And I love his channel and just the way he talks. Like he's very fun to watch. Like he's very fun to watch and stuff like that. Another one where I get a lot of my romance stuff from, and like especially like black romance is I think you pronounce her name like Shaughnessy Schroeder. She is amazing. Like the way she talks about the books and like the vlogs that she does, and she's just a super happy person, and I love that. And her videos are super fun to watch. And there was another dude I watched. I can't remember his name. There's another black booktuber. I can't remember his name at this moment, but he was super good. And I just like the way he talks about books and the different genres he reads. But and books are sick. I like books are sick too. I love the way he talks about books and the different kind of books he reads, because he got me into Stephen King. He's the reason I bought those 2 Stephen King books. So yeah, those are just a few people though. I literally watch, like I dive into everybody on BookTube. Like I really just, if I'm not at work or if I'm not doing it, I'm literally just watching BookTube. So I can't name everybody, but I literally, if you have a BookTube channel and I know about you, like I'm watching your videos. I don't care if they have 100 views. Like I'm part of that 100 views. So just know that if you're watching this, I'm watching your video.
I love that answer, because you went from Jack Edwards, who is this crossover kind of booktuber who does lifestyle and books, and he's like he has mastered being in 2 sectors of YouTube at the same time, which is a skill, a very big skill. And there's a couple massive booktubers who do that. But you're right, there are a lot of small micro channels that are what keep the community going, like turning and moving and the discussions going. So I just love that you mentioned everyone from the whole range. It's just a phenomenal answer. And your boy says, I haven't reread anything, but I'd reread anything by James Patterson.
He loves
I haven't read any Patterson myself.
He loves James Patterson. Like that's when I first started reading. He was like, bro, you have to get a James Patterson book. If you don't, I will buy it for you. So I'm still waiting on that.
That's how you know someone stands by. If they're like, I'll put my wallet in it, I stand by it. But my final question was kind of similar in a broader booktube sense, which is, as someone who started 6 months ago on a whim, on a suggestion from a friend based on love of reading, what would you say to someone who's on the fence with starting a channel? What is your advice? Like, what would you say to someone who's thinking about it, maybe is shy, maybe is nervous, but they want to put their voice out there? What's your advice?
My advice would just be to go for it. Go for it. But before you go for it, just practice. Practice. Like people say, practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. You just have to. It's reiteration. You just got to keep going and get yourself to the point like where you're comfortable. Like you're always going to be a little uncomfortable, and like being out of your comfort zone is where greatness happens. But you're always going to you want to be comfortable when you're doing it though. You know what I mean? Like to a certain extent. So just get comfortable. Just really do the things that you feel that you need to do to get comfortable, and just do it. Just put yourself out there. And like I said earlier, just detach yourself from the views, detach yourself from everything that you think, everything that people promote YouTube to be, as far as like money and views and all of that. Like if you really love it and you really want to get on YouTube, just do it. Just do it, and you'll get better with time. Like I've had so many people in my comments that say like your videos get better every single time, and I'm just doing it. I have no special recipe. I don't have a special thing that I do to make my videos look good. Like I literally still record off of I have an iPhone 15, but I record off my phone. I don't even have a camera yet. So you just got to do it. You just got to go out there and do what you want to do. So if YouTube is what you want to do and you want to join the booktube community, do it, because you will be embraced. And it doesn't matter about how many people, as long as one person, if one person is embracing you, that's more than you had before you joined booktube. So you got to take the good with the bad, you know what I'm saying? And the good will outweigh the bad the more you do it and the more consistent you stay with it. So like Nike said, just do it.
Not sponsored, but hey, Nike, if you want to. No, but I just want to reiterate that this is very much true. And I stand by, if you look at your first video and you're not a little bit cringe, a little worried about it, then maybe you haven't grown enough. Like no one's first video is good. No one. But I will never delete it, because I believe that it should be there as proof of where a lot of us start. This was not here. And it doesn't have to be here. It never has to be here.
Exactly.
This background, because I made some fantastic friends I have today from that first video. So I just want to reiterate everything that you just said, 5, truly. But, we've gone for an hour and a half. We could probably keep talking for another hour and a half. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2, honestly. But we are more than welcome. But for this particular part of this conversation, I want to give you guys a chance to sign off, my wonderful co-host PL as well as 5. So why don't we let the guest go first? Can you let people know, where they can find you, anything exciting you have coming out, what they can look for from you in this space, if they watch this video and want to check you out?
Oh yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Lit Vibes with 5, same as my YouTube handle. Everybody asks me if I'm on Goodreads. Yes, I am on Goodreads. I don't keep up with it as much as I should, but it is the same as my YouTube, Lit Vibes with 5. And I actually do have like some really interesting videos that I want to do, because I'm traveling to North Carolina to actually go do some stuff with my brother and my girlfriend. And I have some super good videos that involve like, just me getting out there, like literally in the town, and asking people questions and trying to interact with people in real life, not just over the camera, going out and talking to people about what I love to do. So I think that's going to be very interesting. I think that's something that is it will pique a lot of people's interest, because like I'm just authentically me. So it's going to be a very fun and informative video. So I got that coming soon. And yeah, I just look forward to talking and putting this content out for my community every day. I love y'all. I hope y'all love me too.
As always, if you're watching, links to all of 5's like socials, especially the YouTube video, will be in the description. They're always there for all of our guests if you're watching live or afterwards. But what about PL? Where can people find you?
Well, thank you, Taylor. Typically beside you, my awesome co-host on Page Chewing, where we interview all kinds of creators, as Taylor said, agents, booktubers, bloggers, authors, editors. So yeah, and we have a lot of great things planned for the future. Exciting stuff, like having awesome guests such as Cousin Vibes on. The books, The Drunk King Saga 74/7, on my website, www.peelstore.com. 4 books out now. Working on the 5th book, Alliance Pride, coming out in the spring. So yeah, just grinding there. You can find me on Reviews Before We Go blog, where like as Taylor is the assistant editor, so am I, led by the wonderful Beth Tadler. Shout out to Beth, our fearless leader, who's also a leader at Grimdark Magazine. So yeah, you can find my reviews there, and on Goodreads. Again, PL Stuart. Socials, mostly on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter. PL Stuart Writes. Same on Facebook and Instagram. PL Stuart Wright. So that's where you can find me.
Wonderful. So if you're watching this and you weren't aware before, my name is Taylor. This is my channel, Maybe Between the Pages. I do lots of life vlogs, life and reading vlogs, book reviews, make book videos, not a surprise. You can check out my channel for any of those. As PL mentioned, I am an assistant editor over on Before We Go blog, so you can see my reviews in a more professional capacity there, but I do, brain vomit on Goodreads, so you can see those there too, even if they're not published in a professional capacity. I am also a judge for SPIFPO, which is the self-published fantasy blog off. We are in the 10th version of that now, so you will see reviews coming out for a lot of those self-published fantasy books from the team soon. You can look for updates on that on my channel. Outside of that, page tuning is my passion project. I love being next to PL and interviewing interesting guests like 5 here. It's truly what I love to do the most. So for anyone watching this now, anyone watching it afterwards, I said this earlier in the interview, but you are the ones who make this long form content what it is by watching, by engaging, by commenting. Truly the heroes here. So thank you for being here. And we will see you